Oh, hello everyone. My name is Lara. You are the Science Alliance. It's time for the Antarctica show. I'm going to tell you everything I've just learned this week about Antarctica. Yeah, it's 22 degrees outside, but you know, this was a request. What are you going to do? So, first of all, we will set up a little experiment to decide whether sea ice or land ice is making sea levels rise. It sounds kind of like dry when I put it like that, but it's good. Honestly, it's good. If you've got a glass of water with you and some ice cubes, put the water into the glass, like almost up to the top, and then fill it with ice cubes. You need some ice cubes to be sticking out of the glass. This is vitally important. Oh, so cool. Yeah, there's no sticky uppiness. You might need to add a few. Still got very little. It's all right. I brought all the cubes. There we go. We've got peepage. Okay, so I'm going to put this on a plate. Get a glass. Put some ice cubes in so that some ice cubes are sticking out. Put it on a plate and then top it up with water. The absolute most you can fill it up to without it overflowing. All right, I'll show you. I've set you up so you can see. There you go. What a great view. Here we go. So I haven't done this right the last two shows I've done. Just get the surface tension so it's working as hard as it can possibly work, right? Yeah, because water particles are a bit sticky, so you can get it really quite high without it overflowing. There! Oh yes, come on! Whoa! Oh, if nothing else goes right today, that is awesome. So I've got a glass of water, as literally as far up to the top as it can go, but no water has spilled out the side. Can you see that? And we've got ice cubes poking out the top. So you can do this at home if you like. My first question to you is, what is going to happen when these ice cubes melt? Okay, when the ice cubes melt and the water the ice cubes are made of goes into the glass, is the water level going to overflow? Is it going to stay exactly the same? Or is it going to go down? Is the water in this glass, when the ice cubes melt, going to overflow, stay the same, or go down? Just a little thing to be thinking about. We'll just let it sit there while we do something else. Okay, so the big thing about Antarctica that everyone always talks about is how it is a continent. So I thought we'd better start with what is a continent. Now, if you look it up, a lot of you will know, a continent is a big area of land which is separated by water. It's like a big area of land isolated by water. Now, I really, really do not like the phrase, I'm not being funny, but. I'm not being funny, but. That's not true, is it? Like, look at this map. Clearly, look, what is this? Huh? Science and geography. It's just land, isn't it? There's Europe here, clearly connected to Asia by a lot of land. Here's New Zealand. That's not a big piece of land. It's a tiny piece of land separated by water, but it's just been like lumped in with Australia there. So what is a continent? Oh, Antarctica's continent. What is continent? It's what it is what we call a convention. Which kind of means that it sort of used to mean something, humans have just sort of made it up for convenience. I don't know, humans like to lump stuff together, don't they? But some parts of the world they teach that there are 6 continents, some parts of the world they teach that there are 7. We're making it up. But anyway, Antarctica is a very big piece of land covered with ice, floating kind of on its own, right at the bottom of the planet, okay? Let's do the can thing first. So if you brought a can with you, I asked you to get an empty food can, fill it with water and salt, a couple of tablespoons of salt, stir it all up and put it in the freezer. If you haven't done that though, right now, you can get an empty food can and put loads of ice in it and top it up with water and stir some salt in and watch what happens. So what happens is you get frost. You can make frost. It's so beautiful. And this is what happens in Antarctica. So what is frost? Well, there's water particles in the air all the time. Yeah, the more water particles there are, the more humid we say it is. But all air contains water particles. And when water particles slow down, like when they get cool, they condense, right? So water vapour in the air, it's a gas. And then when it gets cooler, say on a night time, water condenses, like the dew on the grass, yeah? And when temperatures are really cold, then the water, the dew stuck to the grass, freezes. So that's what you've got here. This is all this frost that you can see. It's just water vapour in the air getting so cold because you've added salt to the can, so the temperature of the inside is very cold, that it's freezing. I know. And you can add more water vapour from your mouth and build it up. It's lovely. So Antarctica, the other famous thing about Antarctica is that it's a desert, which means it has no precipitation, beautiful word, which just means stuff falling from the sky. So no snow, no hail, but very little snow and hail and rain. All that's precipitation. So it is a desert, but it's loads of ice. And this is why. It's because the frost that forms in Antarctica doesn't melt. And a little bit of snow that falls, that doesn't melt either. So it just builds up and up and up. So to pluck the numbers completely from my head, I said that Antarctica is land, that's true, because it's a continent, but it's got layers and layers of ice that have built up like this over time. At its thickest point, the ice on top of Antarctica is 4,776 metres. I can't even picture that. 4,776 metres of this frost snow just compacted down. On average, it's over 2,000 metres, which is why Antarctica is the highest continent. And just to give you another number, all the ice on Antarctica is 90% of all the world's ice. 90% of all the ice in the whole world. And 70% of all the world's fresh water. 70% of all the world's fresh water is ice in Antarctica. Anyway, right. So I've got a little bonus story time for you, because story time with the Lego at the end is about how the story of Shackleton's adventure is not quite right. Like, the story we tell about the famous adventurer Shackleton who went to the Antarctic is not quite right. But I can't tell you a story about how the story of Shackleton is not quite right without telling the story of Shackleton, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bonus story time. Everything that I'm going to tell you now is totally true. It's just there's a bit more to it that we'll go into at the end. Right, here we go. Shackleton's Antarctic adventure. All the photos in this story are from the collections of the State Library of New South Wales, who just seem lovely, thank you. It's so exciting that the photos I'm showing you are actual photos taken over 100 years ago by explorers in the Antarctic. So here we go. Images by vecteezy.com. Thanks, Vecteezy. 1914. The South Pole has been reached by humans. I mean, only 10 humans. 5 of them died on the way back, but still, we've ticked off the South Pole. Humans have made it, okay? Explorer Ernest Shackleton decides then that he will be the first person to cross Antarctica. So you've got to be the first person, haven't you, to do things. So this is what he's going to do. So he sets off on his ship, the Endurance, very famous. They just found it, actually. And he gets to South Georgia, this island near Antarctica. Absolutely no problem. Here is a real-life photo that they took of South Georgia. But when they try and get a little bit closer, they get stuck in something called pack ice. They hit pack ice. So here's a real picture of the Endurance taken by a photographer, Frank Hurley. Just a little reminder that it's 1914. Cameras are big and photos aren't stored like in the cloud. They've got to be stored on actual film. It's incredible, given what I'm about to tell you, that Frank kept hold of all these photos. So anyway, the ice gets thicker and thicker. They start by fighting their way through it and carving their way through it. It's quite exciting at first, but eventually the Endurance gets stuck in this pack ice, 500 miles from the nearest town. And I feel like people always say this to children, but they've got no mobile phones, kids. Imagine that. No tablets, no mobile phones, just stuck in the middle of nowhere with no technology, right? Not like today. They live on the ship for the winter, hoping, reasonably, that it will get unstuck in the summer. Again, real-life photo of these blokes over 100 years ago on a ship. No way of contacting their family. Shackleton's a pretty good leader. He keeps his men busy. They train the dogs, they hunt for penguins, and they clear ice away from the ship. I'm sure some people won't like the fact that I put the penguin hunting in, but, you know, we're all about telling the truth here at Theatre of Science. And it is what it is, you know. This is why you come to me for the stories. Right. Instead of getting unstuck, as this photo shows, the ship actually gets forced upwards as the ice grows. Please note these 2 little boats. They are going to come up later. Everyone has to camp on the ice. It's too dangerous now to live on the ship, so they all haul their stuff out on the ice. They're not even on the land bit of Antarctica at this point. They're just on the ice floating around Antarctica for 6 months, just on sheets of ice, camping. Eventually the Endurance is crashed. It's very sad. They're very fond of their ship. They rescue some supplies, including those little boats. And here's a beautiful picture. They're running really low on food. This is Frank Hurley, the photographer, and Shackleton with a blubber stove that Frank, the photographer, made. Yeah, you've got to have a lot of different skills if you're going to be an explorer. they take the boats and journey over 100 miles, and finally they touch land for the first time in 16 months. They get to Elephant Island. Yay! This is an actual picture of Elephant Island. As far as we know, no human has ever set foot on Elephant Island before. So here they are, having hot food after 5 days and nights in an open boat. An open boat, yeah? Like just one of those tiny little boats. 5 days and 5 nights, wearing those clothes. But they're on Elephant Island. No human has been there before. No one comes to Elephant Island. There's no point, is there? So Shackleton chooses 5 men to sail south, to sail to South Georgia with him, where they came from. It's a journey, folks, of 800 miles. 800 miles in one of those little boats. 5 of them. And they're already extremely tired and extremely cold and hungry. So the amazing story is that they make it. They get to a whaling station on South Georgia. They manage to get in touch with the country of Chile, and they send a rescue ship. And again, incredible real photo here of the ship on its way to rescue these chaps who are waiting still on Elephant Island. So, incredible, completely true story. In Chile, they are given a hero's welcome. Every member of Endurance's crew survived. So people usually say everyone involved survived. Now that bit is not true. And we're going to find out at the end with the help of some Lego people. Photos from the collection of the State Library of New South Wales. Really do appreciate that. A lot of people put this stuff under copyright, which is way awkward for me. Okay, so what else do we need to talk about? Oh yeah, I thought it would be quite interesting to say why Antarctica got there in the first place. Why is this bit of land right at the bottom of the planet at the South Pole, like isolated? But how are the animals there? How did that happen? So we need to talk a little bit about tectonic plate theory. Do you know about tectonic plate theory? So for a long time, people thought that the Earth's crust, the very outside of the Earth, was just one big bit of rock. But that is not true. It's actually made of lots of enormous bits of rock that are moving around, like paving slabs. Imagine just kind of paving slabs all creaking past each other, and the countries are on these paving slabs. So sometimes they scrape against each other, sometimes they boosh up towards each other. That's how Mount Everest was formed, because 2 tectonic plates, you call them, these big paving slabs, did that. Sometimes they move apart from each other, and then magma comes out from under the ground, liquid rock, and like fills in the gaps and makes more land. So this is how the world has been working, okay? Just countries and continents constantly moving around. So I've got this little map for you to show you where Antarctica was and where it is now. Here we go. So we've got the oldest one up here, the Jurassic period, about 150 million years ago, and then we're going to move across like this, yeah? So we're getting older and newer and newer until this one's today. So I've tried to put little dots where I think everything is. So Antarctica is where the pink dot is here. And India is the green dot, and Australia is the little blue dot. So this is like the time of the dinosaurs, yeah? 150 million years ago. And then, as you can see, slowly, India and Antarctica and Australia, they start to split apart. And I'll leave it for you to decide which one of them got lucky. But by today, look, isn't that mad? That they're all in completely different places. So this is deeply exciting because they've actually, it's because if you go even further back, as you can see, at one point they were just all one piece of land. And they found fossils from this period, 250 million years ago. There's these little kind of fern-like tree seeds have been found in Antarctica and South Africa and South America and Australia. So this really helped to prove tectonic plate theory, because at first actually people weren't really convinced. Right, come up here with me. At first people thought that it was very unlikely and strange that the Earth's crust was kind of moving around, but how do you explain the same fossil in Antarctica and South America and Africa unless at one point they were all joined together? They found dinosaur fossils as well. They found pterodactyls, and they reckon that some of the dinosaurs they found on Antarctica are fossils that are from a totally unknown species, like a new species. So there must have been dinosaurs living on Antarctica when it like broke free from India and Australia and travelled down to the south pole of the planet. I mean, it took like millions of years. The dinosaurs weren't like, no, my friends! They just kind of like evolved slowly. But yeah, interesting. Scientists have bored down, like basically kind of put a massive sort of really long toilet roll into the ground in Antarctica and pulled it up and studied all the different layers. And there's loads of absolutely gorgeous fossils down there. Look it up. They found evidence of a rainforest. At one point there were dinosaurs in a rainforest in Antarctica, and then just love it. Okay, now just before we go to story time, I feel like, you know, you're all about the cute animals. You're going to want to know a bit about the animals of Antarctica. I feel like this is kind of done in a lot of like fun YouTube videos with music and colours, and you don't need me, but very briefly we will look at the food chain in Antarctica. Here we go. Right, you got your whales. Just so many whales in Antarctica. You got your leopard seals. Those are the ones that eat the penguins. There's lots of other seals that tend to keep themselves to themselves and just eat the fish. There's the killer whale, which of course, as we know, is just a posh dolphin, and krill in the middle. Now, what I think is really interesting about this, what I really like about the Antarctic food chain, is that the hugest animals actually only eat very small foods. So you would imagine that the massive whales, like your blue whale, biggest animal that has ever existed on the planet, you'd think that it would eat big food items, but it doesn't. It's much more efficient. So imagine if, like, so krill are getting their energy from, say, like plankton, tiny little one-celled plants in the sea, then they use some of that energy up, right? Like, you know, moving around with their hearts beating. So the fish that eat the krill, they sort of get slightly less energy, and the whales that eat the fish, they get slightly less energy, but the blue whale, the really big one, just eats the krill, so sort of gets more energy. It's a more efficient thing to do. So yes, that's all I really wanted to say about that. That it's the smaller creatures that eat the other food. What I really want to talk about is this guy, because I just found out about this and it's totally made my day. Let's just have a little brief chat about crab-eater seals. Crab-eater seals. They don't eat crabs. That's just great. People keep trying to change its name to the krill-eater seal. No one's interested. We're just going to call it the crab-eater seal. Never had a crab in its life. But they're amazing because they eat krill. And how they eat krill is they just take in a big gobful of seawater with krill in it, and then they sieve out the seawater. But the way their teeth have evolved, I don't know if they just originally had like typical standard teeth, and then one of them was born with like a little notch in it, and that acted as a better sieve. So that one was more likely to have babies, and then that one had more little notches. But eventually we got teeth that look like this on your crab-eater seal. Look at that! You have to look at photos because this is the only royalty-free picture that I could find, obviously an illustration, but a very realistic illustration. Crab-eater seal skull. They're just amazing. They're absolutely stunning. There you go. That's all I'm going to say about the animals of the Antarctic, because we're going to do penguins next week. And we'll do whales at some point as well. Right, let's very quickly go... Oh, sorry, just don't sue me, Vecteezy. I love you. Thank you. Very quickly, let's go back to our ice cubes and see what happened. Did you guess correctly? Gasp! You're like, Laura, I have no idea what's happened. No water has spilled. Look, not a single droplet of water has spilled into that plate. Isn't that amazing? How does that happen? Why, Lara? Why? Tell us the physics. This is a little bit of A-level physics, this. So why that has happened, and that is correct, that no water should have spilled, is because water is super weird, right? Usually, everything's made of particles. Particles in a liquid, they're really close together, okay? They're all moving around each other, kind of like a ball pool. So you can imagine that water particles in a glass of water, it's sort of like a ball pool. They're touching, but they're free to move. Most particles, when they get colder, they slow down and they move closer together. But water particles do this amazing thing. They've got these special bonds, and when they get colder, they actually spread out. So these are water particles that are in liquid form, and when they get cold, these new special bonds form. Yeah, and they spread out. So ice takes up more space than liquid water. And this is the gorgeous bit, which you'll do at A-level physics. What that means is that an ice cube peeping above the water like this. When it melts, because these particles are more spread out, when it melts, the sort of extra particles above the surface of the water fit perfectly into this space here. It's just, am I the only one to just think, oh, physics is so gorgeous. Look at that. So yeah, absolutely no change. What this has to do with Antarctica, if you're a home eder doing your pulping badge, you've just done the experiment that demonstrates what is making sea levels rise. Is it ice floating on the sea or is it ice on the land? So this shows you that ice floating on the sea, when that melts, it actually doesn't make any difference to the sea level. So sea levels rising, bad, okay? Sea going up, super bad for like creatures, but also for people who live especially on islands. And it's very sad because the people who live on islands generally have really no impact at all on climate change. They're not the ones making the planet heat up, but they're the ones that are going to suffer most. And you hear people saying, oh, the planet heating up is really bad because it's going to melt the sea ice. No, it won't make a difference. The reason that the sea levels are rising is because ice on land, like new ice, is falling into the sea. We can demonstrate. Look, I've got a few ice cubes left. So I get some new ice cubes and I put them into this glass of full water. What's going to happen? Yes, exactly. See, it's not rocket science, is it? The water is going to overflow. That's what's happening with the sea. So when sea ice, well, it's perfectly natural and fine that Antarctica is surrounded by ice. Yeah, there's the land and then there's ice all surrounding it. It's perfectly natural that that ice carves off. That's what it's called. When a bit of ice stuck to Antarctica comes off, it's called calving. Falls into the sea level rises, but then the ice reforms, so sea level drops, and then, you know, the cycle continues. But it is happening more and more and more. And the problem is that sea ice stuck to the side of Antarctica is also stopping ice on the land bit of Antarctica kind of flowing into the sea. So it's sort of a double whammy. When too much ice falls off, that makes the sea level rise, but it also means more ice falls. And obviously we've just learned that Antarctica's got 90% of the world's ice. I don't think I'm really grasping how big Antarctica is, but it's like an east side and a west side that scientists talk about. And if either one of those sides melts, you're talking sea levels going up by tens of metres. Tens of metres! I can't picture it. Not in the slightest. Right. Having got on to quite a sad note, let's talk about a story time where people die. Sorry. But again, we're all about the truth, ain't we? Oops, don't need to see my disgusting office. Let's pull my blind down. Right, here we go. That says Shackleton route. It doesn't matter, we won't hang on this bit for long. So, Shackleton wanted to be the first person to cross Antarctica, but, and this isn't known by many people, he couldn't take enough supplies to get all the way across. Someone, in order for him to complete his journey, was going to have to sail from, say, Australia, get to the other side of Antarctica, go onto the land and lay supplies at various points so that Shackleton, after he got to the South Pole, would be able to survive the journey to the other side. This job fell to an Australian ship called the Aurora, which was commanded by a chap called Mackintosh, a former naval officer, and a chap called Joyce was there as well. He was in charge of the sledging and the dogs, but he actually had a lot more Antarctic experience than Mackintosh. So they travelled to Australia to pick up the boat, and things just went wrong for them immediately. Shackleton had bought this ship, the Aurora, in Australia, and I don't know, there'd been some kind of miscommunication, because when Mackintosh and Joyce arrived to pick up the ship, it turns out it's been pretty much stripped of parts. A lot of people resign at this point, like a lot of members of crew, which is obviously very unhelpful, and they have to fix up the ship. Eventually they do this, but it does mean they're running quite late, yeah? And Shackleton has already set off from the other side of the world, and no mobile phones. They've got absolutely no way of getting in touch with him. So they don't know when Shackleton is going to attempt his crossing, all right? For all they know, Shackleton is going as quickly as he can and is going to attempt the crossing when he arrives. So they think, oh my goodness, we're running really late. So they get to Antarctica, And they are amazed to discover that Scott's hut has been left for them, and it's really neat. It's in a lovely condition. So Scott of the Antarctic, you might have heard of him. He tried to get to the South Pole. He didn't quite make it, but he did leave a hut with lots of wonderful supplies. So they take those supplies and they put them onto their ship, okay? And then a chap called Stenhouse, okay? First Officer Stenhouse is tasked with parking the Aurora, right? He's got to go and find a mooring for the winter, okay? This is important. Stenhouse is not very experienced, but he's also been super micromanaged. People are like, oh, Stenhouse, make sure you don't put the ship there. No, make sure you don't put the ship there. Find somewhere good to put it for the winter. So he goes off with some of the crew to do that. And Macintosh and Joyce, they set off to lay the first supplies, because bear in mind, they think they might be really late. They have a horrible, horrible time. The snow is a lot softer than they thought. They're carrying really, really heavy supplies. And what they end up having to do is drop some supplies off and then go back and get more supplies and then come back to the same place and drop the supplies again. So it turns out they're travelling like 3 times further than they thought they were going to travel. And Macintosh and Joyce are not getting on very well. Joyce is saying, look, we're going too far, we're pushing ourselves too fast, the dogs can't handle it. And Macintosh is like, but no, Shackleton is relying on us, he could die if we don't get him these supplies. Anyway, eventually, they actually do push themselves too hard and they lose the dogs, sadly. And by the time they get back to the base, having laid the first supplies, people have lost faith in Macintosh, which is obviously fairly crucial. Shackleton didn't have that. His crew kept respecting him, but Macintosh's crew are getting a bit fed up. And then there's a terrible storm and the ice forms around where Stenhouse moored the boat. And then some ice breaks off that the boat is attached to and floats off into Antarctica, taking loads of members of the crew with it and all the supplies, because they were planning to winter on the ship. So they've got all their food and their clothes on a ship, which is now just floating in the middle of the Antarctic Ocean. Its engine isn't working because it's surrounded by ice. There's no way for the crew on board to get a message across. And they're actually the lucky ones, because 10 men have been stranded on the shores of Antarctica with only the clothes that they are wearing and some of the supplies that were meant for Shackleton. I mean, what would you do? Well, they go into Scott's hut, they find an old tent, they use it to make some clothes, they make some shoes out of one of his sleeping bags, they even make tobacco out of sawdust and tea and herbs that they find. Do not try that at home. And they keep on laying the supplies that they think Shackleton so desperately needs. They absolutely plough away, and of course, don't forget, they're trying not to eat too many of the supplies because they're keeping them for Shackleton. So 6 men go. Joyce is using dogs to pull his sledge. Macintosh, because he thinks it's a better idea, is pulling his by hand. Eventually, one of the men collapses from exhaustion and has to be also pulled on the sledge. And then a terrible blizzard traps them all in their tent for 5 days. Sadly, the exhausted man dies. And then Macintosh, the leader, he also becomes so exhausted that he has to be carried on the sledge as well. Eventually, they make it to a little hut, which is quite close to Scott's hut, which is their base. But there's a lot of very, very dangerous, very thin ice between them and Scott's hut where they want to be. Now, Macintosh, obviously, they're all extremely tired. They're extremely hungry. Macintosh and one other man, who's also collapsed of exhaustion, says, we're just going to risk it. We're just going to go, we're going to walk across this ice, and we're going to get back to the hut. And the others, like Joyce, say, no, what are you doing, man? No, stop it, no, don't do that. Macintosh is like, no, I'm going to do it. And he's the leader, so he goes off onto the thin ice, and sadly, is never seen again. Him and this other man just disappear. The others wait until the ice is thicker and safer, and when they go out looking for them, they just find some footsteps leading to some broken ice, and we don't know to this day whether the 2 men fell into the ice or whether they were on a piece of ice that sort of ripped off and just floated away. But anyway, Joyce makes it back with some other men to base camp, and unbelievably has completed his mission absolutely successfully. They've done everything that was asked of them. All Shackleton's supplies have been laid. Eventually, the Aurora, the ice around the Aurora melts, and the Aurora manages to make it back to New Zealand to get help. At this point, of course, as they're being rescued, these men who've been stranded learn that everything they've achieved has been unnecessary. Shackleton didn't set foot on Antarctic land and would never use their supplies. So World War I has broken out, and the survivors' story is largely lost and forgotten. But at least you know it now. The end. Yeah, I never knew that story. I did, for my supporter magazine, I did the story of Shackleton, like the famous story, and someone was like, oh, it's really sad that no one talks about the people who died. And I was like, what? Somebody died? So anyway, yes, very happy to have been able to clear that up for everyone. Right, you lot. That is the end of the show on Antarctica. I hope that you enjoyed it. Like I say, next week we'll do penguins, because we can't cram penguins into this show. There's too much to say. And we'll do whales another time as well. I hope you have fun. Oh, it's so cool the way that the ice on the can really builds up. Ah, it's so beautiful. You can like write your name or do a smiley face. Okay, I guess I'll tell you why I do the show for free, or how I do it for free. I do it for if you want to, you can sign up to support me. So I do a home ed lesson every week, and I do this show every week with Lego Storytime. Apart from York school holidays, because I have my own children, and I'm managing to do it, like make a job out of it, because most people who watch are paying me £5 a month. So if you go to my About section on YouTube, it takes you to a website called Coffee, where you can support me with £5 a month and receive things. I'll be so grateful. I will send you the things. So the thing that you receive really is Theatre of Science magazine, which comes out like every 2 months or so. I write it. Wonderful designer husband designs it and illustrates it. I'm going to send you this one if you sign up now, which is on rainforests. So it's got a bug activity, you cut out the bug and you mount it. It's got a choose your own adventure, will you die in the rainforest? It's got a beautiful comic that my husband illustrated about a very famous insect expert and how she went to visit some cannibal tribes. I am super proud of Theatre of Science magazine. If you sign up now, I'll send you this one and some rainbow glasses, because they're cool and they make you see rainbows. But then, by the beginning of next week at the latest, you will also have received the next magazine, which is on mould, which is just as brilliant as the rainforest one, frankly. It's got a cartoon in it about the only British woman to have a Nobel Prize in Science. I didn't know that. And it's got a grow your own mould activity. I'm going to send you a free biodegradable plastic bag. I know. Oh my goodness. Oh, my computer battery's died. I have comments. Right, if you've left me a comment on Facebook, so sorry, you're going to have to either just log off and I'll reply to you in writing, or I'm going to go and get my phone charger. This is the worst telly ever. The show is over. You can leave. There's not even anything for you to look at. Okay, I'm just going to go. You're used to me, you know this. Oh, how embarrassing. I know that Suki and Arza and Eunice are going to be watching. I think Hannah and Abby are watching as well. You might well have left me some good questions. Or even more helpfully, some, Lara, that thing you said, that's not right. Or, Lara, you drew that upside down, you shouldn't have done. Okay, I'm plugged in. It's coming. Check my notes, I don't think there was anything else. No, there really wasn't anything else that I wanted to tell you. Oh, here we are, we have power. Yeah, and usually for me, I've told you everything that's in my head already. You're still here, you're very good. Here we go. It's loading up. This is a crabby seal. They have found a crab in Antarctica. Uh-oh. Someone sent me a message saying just to remind. Why, Richard, why do I need reminding of something? What have I forgotten, Richard? Here we go. It's coming. It's coming. I'm just going to end up saying, hi, Arza and Eunice. And Suki. Hi, Hannah and Abby. Bye then. But I like that bit. There might be other people there. Oh, great! Wait, no. Yay! Let's see. more comments. Oh, there they are. Oh, hello, Kira. Oh, nice to see you. Kira's here. Kira, are you still here? That would be amazing if you were. Thank you so much for going. Oh, it's daisies. Oh, nice. Oh, the frost is looking really thick and white on your can. Yeah, I know. I could just play with this all day. It is so thick. Oh, hello, Olivia. Oh, Olivia's here. That's nice. Oh, I know that Olivia's still here. Hello. Fancy seeing you on YouTube. Oh, it's Alice. Oh, hello, Alice. Oh, that was nice. That was totally worth logging on just to see Alice. Yeah, have fun with your gorgeous frosty cans. I'm going to go and get ready for my homemade lesson, which is on Facebook Live in 50 minutes. It's about fabric. I might see you then. Bye. Have a lovely sunny day, everyone. See you next week for penguins. Bye. Stab.